to the stream, you're more than welcome to skip ahead. But yeah, if you are watching live, come in, have a chat, whatever it might be, just while we get ready to go. To go racing. Should be pretty exciting, of course, a new format and everything, so yeah, I certainly cannot wait. So far 12 people in. I think we're waiting for a couple more, and then ready for quali, and then of course the 2 sprint races. There we go, we've got one more in. Shouldn't be too long now until we get underway. Yeah, hopefully not particularly too long. So who we got representing the UK then? So we've got Aston Martin, so that is Rogers and Dommy. We've also got them alongside McCann, which is Will and Stuart Little. So they're going to be representing the UK. Then we've got the Team US. We've got the Alpine and Williams guys. So we've got Ben and Exotic and Dace and Callirob in the Williams. Team Netherlands going with the Dutchies. We've got Honesy and Lass in the Ferrari with Stein in the AlphaTauri. Not sure if those guys are in tonight. No, I don't think they are. But then we've got Team Germany. So we've got the Haas. And then we've got the other person in the Aston Martin refresh. I'm not quite sure what's going on with car placements at the moment. And then of course we've got the rest of the world with Toss and Jurdy, of course. But we are getting ready to go racing very, very shortly. I think everyone is readying up. I think we are almost there in terms of the clock ticking down. Indeed it is. So here we are then, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to the CCR Nations Cup, an event that will take place tri-weekly and consist of a very interesting format. It's the usual short 18-minute qualifying to set the grid. However, it's only for the first of 2 races. When the 25% race is complete, we venture to a different track, reverse the top 15 and do it all again. With a spiced up point system, seeing points awarded all the way down to 15th, it's certainly all to play for. Drivers are going to be representing their home nations in this all-out sprint series. So who will take the Nations Cup? We will find out at season's close, and it all starts here. Zandvoort is going to be an all-important in terms of qualifying position. It's fast and flowing, but the gravel traps will be ready to spit you out in an instant. Then we travel across to the Middle East for the Bahrain Grand Prix, which will play host to our reverse grid race. Bahrain is a breeding ground for close, exciting and enthralling racing. My name is Zach Sweeney and I'll be taking you through all the action here tonight. And well, I certainly cannot wait to get ourselves underway and racing. With quali just about to start, let's get ourselves going. And I think the loading is complete, so perfectly on time. And what a way to kick off the season with a wet qualifying here in Zandvoort. That is going to spice things up, well, quite a lot. And I think it is conditions suitable for the extreme wet tyres. You can see there shown by the tyre graphic, and it does look like pretty horrible rain, so the conditions certainly less than ideal, but still a long way to go in terms of the qualifying session. So it might get worse, it might get better, we don't know, but I'm sure the driver's going to want to get out there, maybe do some high run laps. As you can see, one of the McLarens, I believe that could be Stuart Little heading out now. Indeed it is Stuart Little representing the Brits in the McLaren, and of course Team Dutchies are going to want to get themselves out on track and do well for their home Grand Prix. But the first driver out there to try and tame these very harsh, less than favourable conditions, it must be said, into turn 3 and 4. You can see even on his outlap he's already struggling, and Zandvoort is probably the worst track for it to be wet. It is, yeah, it's horrible, Zandvoort in the wet, and of course that is just, you can't make any mistakes at all, because the walls are close, but the gravel traps, the grass, they're even closer. And they will be ready to spit you out in an absolute instant. You can't make any mistakes. That curb on the exit of turn 8 as well is ready to spit you out practically, just incredibly quick. Just act like I'm not rest of the world. Sorry. Cool guy as well is rest of the world. He's represented in the Mercedes as well. You're here. We don't forget you. The rest of the world. They're gonna try and do us proud, hopefully. But Stuart Little representing the Brits. No British bias for myself whatsoever. Honesy out on the intermediate tyres, so feeling a little bit brave, as well as Dace, which is certainly interesting. We'll see how Stuart Little tames the conditions on the extreme wets, and then see how Honesy and Dace get on in terms of their intermediates. Intermediates aren't too bad in the extreme wet conditions, but on board with Stuart Little, let's see where he brakes. Where you normally would in the dry, but you can see how much he's struggling, really struggling to pick up the throttle as well, being so tentative in even third gear, just doesn't want to risk spinning the rear wheels up at all, very much struggling to pick up the throttle, just cruising around, does not want to take any risks in that McLaren, just wants to get through the qualifying session. Of course the race is going to be ever so important, and qualifying as well, so he doesn't want to spin and ruin it right now and start right at the back of the grid. Well, someone has to. I don't think he's going to want it to be him, and in a fashion that sees him out of qualifying. I think he'd rather, finish last on merit as opposed to crashing and seeing what could have been in towards turn 10, rolling it through third gear. You can see just ever so slightly picking up the throttle, very slowly doing it so as to not disturb the rear end. Around about 1,000 horsepower in those rear wheels, and it's all going to the rear wheels because these are rear wheel drive cars. So yeah, 1,000 horsepower to the rear wheels, no traction control for some of these drivers is going to be very hard to tame, as we've got pretty much every driver out on track now. Let's see what Stuart Little can do. In the wet you want to be aiming for around about maybe a 118, I'd say, maybe even a little bit higher. Yeah, Stuart Little not going to get anywhere near a 118, probably around about a 122, I'd say, something around that margin as he comes across the line, and I'm going to be a little bit off with the 121.6 he sets. But who else is out on a lap? We've got Holmesy out on a lap. Let's see how he's getting on in the Ferrari, representing, I think, his Team Netherlands. Of course, a 4-time NRL champion. Dethroned by NRL Kachau, you can see there, committing to the league that brought him his most recent title, as Last goes into P2 with a 22.0, so 4 tenths off at the time being. Holmesy goes purple to the middle sector though, so he's doing pretty well on those intermediate tyres, and as the track gets a little bit better, of course, rubber being laid down and water being moved off the racing line to create a more clearer patch on the inside, should get ever so slightly quicker. Let's see what Holmesy can do though. He's looking pretty good as he crosses the line. Is it going to be provisional pole? It is going to be provisional pole. 121.4 on those intermediate tyres and setting the pace very early. Let's see what the reigning champion of NRL can do in the Haas. Kachau representing Team Germany, of course. And doesn't go purple to the middle sector. So all to play for in the final one though. Kachau definitely no mean slouch when it comes to racing, but qualifying maybe not his strongest suit. The race is definitely where he makes it up for, and well, that is where you score the majority of your points. I think 1.4 pole position, but Kachau now darting himself towards the line. It's going to put him P4, the slowest of our current runners, 122.167 for the time being. But a 122.1 for Kachau at the time, and I think he's going to be wanting to improve upon that. Stein into P2, a 121.492, so very, very close at the front. Practically, what is that, only a tenth and a bit separating the top three, and in such wet conditions, it's something you like to see, because the wet, there is just so much, there's just no margin for error at all. Any mistake is just exaggerated by so much that you lose so much time for any mistake that you make, and that is a Williams of Cali Rob spinning out on the pit straight, and luckily managing to pull it back into the pit lane, but Will settling in for P8, 122.2, so extremely close in the midfield. Of course, as Domi Lee, the Brit, coming into P4, of course, a very major championship contender, as Exotic has retired from the session. I believe that is him retiring on the exit of the pit lane, or in the pits, one of the two. Something happened to him, which is a shame for Exotic, who would have probably loved to get out and do a lap, but he's going to start at the back of the grid for the race today then. Let's see what Dominique can do. He's currently sits P5 with a 121.6. Only a couple of attempts would see him go from 5th to 1st. Full course yellow in full effect. So yeah, a lot of incidents, and that is to be expected in these treacherous conditions. We've got the other Aston Martin spinning off the final corner. Again, a very easy thing to do. He's going to reverse into the track. That is his teammate of Domi Lee not really knowing where to go as to not smack into his fellow Brit there. That was very close. Probably arguably too close for comfort. Is Stein going to improve upon his lap? No, he's not. I think he's going to start another one. Yeah, let's see what the Red Bull can do. In a different postcode to the Apex, but taking a nice wide line as Holmesy goes around about a second or so quicker. A 120.3 now is the benchmark. Those inters seem to be getting ever so slightly quicker as this session progresses. And I think the rain is starting to slowly ease off a little bit. Of course, the drivers will have more information than we do. But certainly it looks as if that is the case with the rain starting to ease off a little bit, and you will see that Stein 3 tenths to the first sector. A lot of that will be himself becoming more acclimatized to the circuit, but a lot of it again will be attributed to the fact that the track is getting ever so slightly better. Those Pirelli extreme wet tires can displace around about 60 litres of water per second when you're going at top speed, so that water is getting cleared off very, very quickly off the racing line. So they will see that in full effect, and the track get ever so slightly better. What has Stein done to the middle sector? It's a 3/10 margin still, and purple to the middle sector. At the moment, that will not quite see him into the 20s, but he's still got it all to play for into the final couple of corners. Into the ultimate corner, do not want to touch that curb at all. Maybe coming into the bank and you want to use that curb in the dry. Going to be a little bit more touch and go in the wet. and I think Stein is going to pull himself into the pit lane. I think he's ready for some inters or something. Lassie has retired from the session, whether he's happy with his time or whatever. I think actually Lassie spun off the final corner. I think that's what the yellow flags are for in Sector 3. We'll ride on board with Tiny Darspike. Yep, that is Lassie's car, very much parked in the middle of the circuit. I don't think you are allowed to park there, but he's done it anyway and suffered terminal damage because of it. Tiny Darspike, a 22-1 in the Alpine, and I think a lot of people now seeing Honesy's pace are going to take the hit and go on to the intermediate tyres, the green all intermediate tyres. Honesy finding even more time, nearly 6/10 to the first sector alone, and he's going to be ever so slightly decreasing that margin. And don't forget, these aren't new tyres either, these are the same tyres he's been setting these laps on, so he's probably gone for a high fuel. As that fuel comes down, he's going to get quicker. As the track gets better, he's going to get quicker. As he finds more time in himself, he's going to get quicker. And Honesy, with all of his experience, knows how to tame these wet conditions. It's such a tricky circuit. Honesy doing extremely well, flying the colours proudly. 8, nearly 9/10 purple to the middle sector and up on his own time. So this is looking like a remarkable lap. And if he can find maybe even a couple of tenths, he'll find himself going an extra second quicker on what he's already done. And while that posed the question how much quicker he can go on another set of fresh intermediate tyres, because these are going to be slightly slower. Honesy now across the line. It's going to be a 1:19.0, 1.2 seconds quicker than his previous best, and now 2.4 seconds quicker than Stein, the man who joins him on the front row. But now Stein heading out on those inters. Let's see what he can do. I believe it is a Dutch 1-2 at the time being. In fact, it's a Dutch 1-2-3 at the front, with the Brit now rounding off the second row. Stuart Little comes in and puts it on the front row, separates the Dutchies, and puts himself with a 1:21.1 on those intermediate tyres. So a decent lap from the McLaren driver, but still 1.1 seconds off what Honesy can do, which you can't blame him at all, because Honesy is just in a different league of his own. He's F0, F0.5 if you will. Especially when it comes to these conditions, but who knows, maybe Stein, his fellow Dutch companion, can give him a little bit of a run for his money, as there's yellow flags in constant full effect. We'll have a look further down the field. That is Hey Rogers going for a little bit of a spin coming off of turn 4, I believe. He gets himself going though, and for a Brit you would have thought they'd have been able to tame these wet conditions a little bit better, given our weather of recent times as well being a little bit worse, as Honesy finds around about 4/10 of a second extra, going down to an 18.6. So the track definitely getting better, and Honesy definitely getting better with it. Pulling over in his Ferrari, letting the Aston Martin of Domi Lee through. Currently sits P7 does Domi Lee in his Aston Martin. Trying to do Britain proud on his intermediate tyres. 21.6 at the moment is what he sits on. As he approaches the end of the first sector, he's 9/10 up, nearly a second up, and purple to the first sector. So Domi Lee flying the British colours very, very proudly there. Let's see if he can hook the rest of this lap up. A second at the moment. That's going to be a 20.6. That's going to put him into P4 in fact, ahead of Stein. And let's see how much more he can find, because he still has 2 sectors to go. And is now approaching the second sector line. What's it going to be? What is the delta? 3 seconds. Domi Lee is absolutely flying in that Aston Martin, and he's looking very good potentially for a provisional pole position. Cool Guy going into P2 for the rest of the world team. Only a couple of tenths, or less than a tenth off Honesy. So the front row looking very, very close. Let's see where Domi Lee can put himself. At the moment, it's Honesy that leads the way. It's Domi Lee, shortest run to the line. What's it going to be? Is it going to be the first man into the 17s? Indeed he is. A 17.939 for Domi Lee. Takes a provisional pole in very dominant fashion. What can Stein do in his Red Bull? Was P2. Caliwell goes for another spin off the final corner. Stein now across the line. Where's he going to put his Red Bull? Up, and it's only P4, but very marginally behind Cool Guy. So Domi Lee from Honesy, Cool Guy and Stein are your front row at the moment. They seem to be in a league of their own. Stuart Little a further 5/10 back, and Will in the other McLaren 5 and 6. NRL Kachow in P8, with Caliwell not able really to set a relatively clean time in these wet conditions, been spinning quite often. Hey Rogers, what can he do? Will Ans goes into P2, the other McLaren from 6th on the grid. Takes Honesy and puts him down into 3 until Hey Rogers has something else to say about it. The Aston Martin dropping Honesy down to P4. So I think this is definitely going to come down to well, that is a big crash. That's Cool Guy well and truly out of this session off the banking, and that is a big crash in one of the most high-speed sections. You can still see he's still in 7th gear, and the Williams ghosting through him, but 7th gear, that must have been a pretty big crash, and our 3rd retiree of qualifying. Hopefully he can get out of the way and bring the green flags back out relatively quickly, but P5 probably is going to be the best he can hope for unless Stein doesn't improve. Or, well, if Stein doesn't improve, then he's going to be P5, but I would not put that past Stein. He's been absolutely flying all qualifying session, and he just needs to find that little bit more in himself. Across the line, goes 4th, drops Honesy down to P5, but Honesy out on another lap. He's going to want to improve. 7 tenths between him and Pole. Top 5. Yeah, this is going to be them all the way, I think, and I think it's going to come down to definitely who crosses the line last. They're going to get the best track conditions. It's all going to be all or nothing on that final lap. I think there's going to be a lot of time to be gained. So let's see what Honesy can do. Of course, Stein, Hey Rogers, Will and Domily are all going to want to say something else about it. Hey Rogers pulling into the pit lane very fast into the pit lane. I didn't know you could break that late and still adhere to the pit speed limit. Stein, yeah, I think everyone is just they're going for higher fuel runs, aren't they? They're going out, they're seeing how much time they can take out, because the wet weather really just requires a rhythm. As Stein finds another couple of attempts in that middle sector, and a couple of attempts would put him up into the front row. So yeah, definitely very close, and those couple of attempts do matter. You know, such a short lap in the wet conditions. You can see how much better the track has gotten visually compared to where it was around about 15 minutes or so ago. Stein now rounds the banking, the final corner and across the line. What's it going to be for him? It's a 118.1, and that puts him on to the front row with a purple middle and final sector. So it's going to be extremely close, but he needs to recharge his batteries, and I think he's going to get one more, maybe 2 more runs in this qualifying session. As Domily strapping on some fresh inters, Honesy as well strapping on some fresh inters, goes 4 tenths faster to the first sector. Still got a long way to go though in this lap. He needs to just hook it up, be patient on the throttle, don't let it get away from him. Roll it through. Build up the courage. Get the traction as soon as it is. You want to be full throttle now, heading towards turn 12 and 13. 6 tenths and purple. This is looking good for pole position if Honesy can hook up this final sector. It's only a couple of corners, but very crucial corners indeed. You need to get a good launch off this penultimate corner and into the final corner, the very banked turn at 15. Just got to hook it up. Try and keep it pinned. Turn 16, I should say, rather. No, turn 15. Honesy across the line does go fastest. 1:17.6 is now the benchmark for everyone to be chasing after. Honesy, though, he's going to go for another lap. He wants to improve as best he can as the Aston Martin of Hey Rogers pulls over to the right-hand side to let him through. Stein backing off. He's going to have one more shoot out at pole position. Currently sits around about 5 tenths or so off it. What can he do? I'd say anyone within the top 5 definitely have a good shout at it. NRL Kachau putting himself into the second row, and 18.2 for the German driver. Going for another one though. He's going to get 2 more runs if he's got the fuel and ERS to do so. I'm sure he's going to want to. Stein as well. Backing off on this lap, is he? Or is that just the line you have to take through turn 4? I think that's more of a back out. But what can Domily say to this lap that Honesy put in? It's the dying stages of qualifying now, and it's extremely close. I think the track conditions have definitely been a challenge for everyone. But as we approach the first sector line, what has Domily done? He's slower to the first sector, needs to improve upon that in the middle and final. Around about 3 tenths or so, and he's spun in these crucial moments where you don't want to be making mistakes. The Aston Martin driver has binned it in the wall coming off of turn 8 into 9, and I think that is going to be his pole hopes over, and he needs to hope that Stein doesn't improve. What is Stein going to do? And that is Domily, well, definitely out running of pole. Stein slower again to the middle sector. I think he's just setting up a lap. Has he got the time to set up a lap? I think he does. 10 seconds or so, but he needs to get a move on now. He might be able to get the time. I think he's just going to be able to make it. Stein needs to make the check flag, and he's not going to make it. That is into the barrier and out of this qualifying session. So I think Honesy may just about hang on to this one, unless Anurag Kachau can respond to anything, or even Will in the slipstream of Hay Rogers, Cali Rob as well, who's managed to be able to put a clean lap in. The checker flag is out now. So these are the final laps that everyone. Kachau, let's see what he does as he approaches the timing line. He's a little bit up, not enough up. He needs 6/10 or so through this middle and final sector to find himself on pole, or even on the front row. At the moment, it's Honesy from Domelee, Stein in P3 with Kachau P4. Will, Cali Rob, Hay Rogers and Stuart Little. Not a lot of people been able to maybe reach their full potential in this qualifying session. Kachau, and then now off turn 11, hurtling towards turn 12 and 13. Honesy goes even quicker, a 17.4. Now Kachau needs to put everything on the line. 2/10 faster, that could be enough to maybe get Domelee off the front row and put himself into P2. I think P1's going to be a bit of a long shot, but who knows? That is a spin off the final corner. I think that's Stuart Little. Hay Rogers puts it into P2 on the front row. So it's an Aston Martin 2-3. What can Kachau do? What does he have to say? Shortest run to the line. Is it going to be an improvement? It's going to be an improvement, but it's only P4. And knocks Stein down into P5 with Will in P6, not able to improve. And Adam Kev, of course, not able to set a lap in this qualifying session. But Honesy then takes pole for the first round of the CCR Nations Cup. Incredibly close, incredibly important qualifying session, because Zandvoort's going to be incredibly difficult to overtake round, and it's going to come all the way down to strategy. Cool guy. Half a tenth up on his time at one point in qualifying, and couldn't quite convert, but it is going to be Honesy then that takes pole position here for his home race in Zandvoort. It's a 17.4 in wet, treacherous conditions. That, well, the lap times plummeted down from about the 21s to the 17s. Hay Rogers joins him on the front row with Domelee in P3. Kachau rounding off the second row. Stein P5 with Will in P6. Cali Rob, a good result for the American team in P7. Stuart Little P8. Cool Guy P9 with Dace at P10. Tiny Dark Spike in P11. Lass in P12 with Exotic in P13. And Amkev going to be rounding off the grid in P14. All to play for going into the first of two 25% races, one of which is going to be fully reversed, as we don't have 15 drivers on the grid. So it's going to be, well, everyone reversed. Just make sure you get to the end. Netherlands, it's going to be a tricky one to overtake, but it's still possible. Have to wait and see how it pans out. Qualifying is over. And it looks to be dry, clear skies for the race today. But whether that is going to turn from dry to wet, we don't know. Anything can happen. Does still look very overcast out there, and we'll have to wait and see. Could that factor into some driver strategies? Of course, it's only 25%, but strategy still could play a massive factor getting for that undercut. It's going to be very powerful in Zandvoort. If you're stuck behind a driver, come in a lap earlier, have the fresher tyres, be quicker for a lap. If you're not caught up in traffic, of course, that is the price you pay, the risk you run. Not long now though until we're underway for the first of two 25% races. If you are only just joining us now, qualifying has been done and dusted. It was a very wet qualifying, very close qualifying, very intense qualifying. Now you join us just in time for the race ahead. I think we're just waiting for everyone to ready up on the grid. Of course, they wait for the admin's discretion. Still waiting. Certainly could be a very... I think it's going to be an incredibly close race. Of course, we've not seen the dry pace of the drivers as of yet. We've only seen the wet, but I'd say it's going to be as close as ever. Jonesy, of course, quick all the time. There's never, even on his slower tracks, he's one of the top. He's always at the front consistently. He knows how to race. He knows how to get his way through the field, and he's starting from pole. He knows how to get a good start. He's used to that pressure. He's won championships in the CCR leagues before, NRL, of course, a multiple-time champion. And every race has just been able to compete at the front, so he's probably one of the favourites to win. But don't forget, the two Aston Martins alongside him are going to be ruthless, and they're going to want to bring it home for Team GB. So I'd say we've definitely got a race on our hands. Of course, everyone else further down, don't count anyone out. Just because you're slow in the wet does not mean you're going to be slow in the dry, and vice versa. So yeah, it's going to be incredibly intense, I'm sure. But they do usually say if you're quick in the wet, you're going to be relatively quick in the dry as well. But they say, yeah, I think if you're quick in the wet, you're more than likely going to be quick in the dry as well. But if you're quick in the dry, that doesn't necessarily translate to the wet. They're two very different disciplines. Still just waiting for everyone to get themselves ready. Not long enough to wait now. How's Team Rest of the World doing? Well, cool guy, bottled qualifying, I'm pretty sure. Well, we'll see how they get on. It's a long race, 18 laps of a very tricky circuit. While it is a shorter circuit, it's tricky, very tricky indeed. Consistency is very much rewarded. So let's see what cool guy can do, representing Team Row, as we are going to get underway in around about 20 seconds or so for the formation lap. There we are, then we go green for the formation lap. And is that a little bit of drizzle in the sky? I think that's more just the game deceiving our eyes a little bit there, but nonetheless, 18 laps ahead of us. Formation lap, this is going to be crucial times. Let's see the tyres that everyone is starting on. Everyone bar 2 are on the medium tyre. So Tiny Dark Spike on the softs alongside Exotic. Everyone else though on the medium tyre, looking to go long in this first stint, I'm guessing, and then switch to the softs for a very quick and blitzing final few laps. Or if there are going to be rain in the race, they're going to want to take those mediums all the way to the rain. Jonesy has to keep himself composed, make sure those tyres are in a good window. It's a short run towards one, but it's such a crucial run nonetheless. Getting bogged down at the start, you can definitely get swallowed up here in Zandvoort, and people will definitely take any opportunity they can due to the difficulty of overtaking. So Rogers in P2, Domily P3, Kachow P4, Stein of course in P5. I reckon anyone within that top 5 have a chance of doing it. Predicted pit stop strategy then, medium to soft or harder to soft. We're not going to see either of those. We're not going to see the latter. We're going to see probably the medium to soft, or the soft to medium, I'm going to guess. Jonesy now approaching this formation lap, but I think that is Stein being a little bit cheeky with him waiting up a little bit. Just taking a little bit of a step back, and I think that is also the They're a little bit mixed up on the grid, in fact, but they are now lining themselves up, ready to go ahead of 5 red lights here in Zandvoort. The Netherlands GP, the CCR Nations Cup, the inaugural round of this tri-weekly sprint series where drivers are going to try and do their nations proud and bring home the Nations Cup. We've got veterans and we've got champions on this grid, so definitely a true testimony to who is going to be the quickest one. Finally, everyone with everything to prove, waiting for Lassie at the backside of the grid to line up, and then we will get underway for 18 laps of Zandvoort, the first of 2 25% races tonight. Lassie joins us on the grid. You can see probably a 400-metre sprint to turn 1, if that. So it's going to be ever crucial to get a good launch now. The green flag has been waved. We're waiting for the 5 red lights. They are now illuminating your screen. 4 lights, 5 red lights ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix for the CCR Nations Cup. We are underway and racing. It's a great start for the pole sitter of Honesy, who already pulls along ahead. But the 2 Aston Martins are going to go side by side. Domily trying to protect and get in front of his teammate, but Roger's going to protect that position. That is a very wide Cali Rob at the backside of the grid there. I think it's all a bit maniac at the backside. They try and funnel their way through turn 3 and 4. They get so cleanly. Hey, Roger's trying to put the pressure on and is practically pushing Honesy now through turn 4. But Honesy leads off the first couple of corners and does so well. Domily settling in for P3. Stein, there's yellow flags through the first 2 sectors. I think Cali Rob and Adam Kev have come together. That's Will trying to get up the inside of Stein in towards turn 8. Not really a conventional overtaking opportunity, but goes for it anyway. Kachow now down to P6. Will with a great start then alongside Stein as well, who managed to make up quite a few places, but not much happening in terms of the front. You saw the Aston Martins go side by side, but I think they've tucked in and opted to work together in a bid to catch the front guys a little bit better. And I think Kachow, we have lost Kachow in fact, whether that we lost him through turn 8. He's now down back in P14, so he's going to be on a chase for the rest of this race. Still got a long way to go though, 17 laps of this race to go. It's not all lost for Kachow. Exotic getting himself up into P9 as well. Honesy leads off lap 1 then ahead of Rogers and Domily. The top 3 staying pretty much the same, but Stein and Will both up 1 place. Cool guy up 3 for the rest of the world. As it's still the top 3. Don't let the tower deceive you. The top 3 yet still following their way through with Stein in the chasing pack. Honesy just trying to keep himself composed at the front. Does not want to lose composure, make any mistakes. He's definitely used to the pressure. He's definitely used to being out in front. But Rogers will have DRS at the start of the next lap. That drag reduction system going to go a long way in helping him. That extra 20 kph or so that he will gain from that DRS is going to help him down that back straight towards turn 1. That's probably his best bet in terms of a good overtaking opportunity. He just needs to stick with him, use that ERS wisely. You've got the foothold in that regard in terms of the extra 160 horsepower you get when you press that button. You have DRS at the start of the next lap. That's yellow flags. I think that is a crash at the backside of the grid. That is Stuart Little and Dommy Lee that have come together. A big crash coming off turn 14 there. Not quite sure what happened. Actually missed it, focusing on Honesy a little bit too much, I believe. But Domily and Stuart Little going to run side by side now towards turn 1 after spinning off. I don't think Stuart Little is going to want to wait around at all. Domily leaving him to dry around the outside. The McLaren trying to keep it on the inside, but Domily not faffing about at all and wanting to get back on with business. Chase after the pack in front, but not quite sure what happened between those two, whether one of them spun and the other one got caught up in the incident and they clashed together going wheel to wheel. Not entirely sure, but Stuart Little and Domily now down towards the back of the grid, and that has promoted Stein up onto the podium. That is the high stake nature of the sprint series, with everyone being so close together and everyone pushing so hard, because it's only 18 laps. You need to make the most of every single lap that you possibly can. Hey, Rogers still within DRS of Honesy, but not quite close enough for a move into that previous chicane. It's a penultimate corner. Trying to put the pressure on. Is he quite close enough to go for a move? I don't think he is. Not even going to activate an overtake on this particular occasion. So he's more interested in sticking with it, I'm pretty sure, than going for a move. And they are stuck in a very long DRS train here at Zandvoort, and that is to be expected. Not many opportunities for overtaking. You do a great run off that penultimate corner all the way through the banking. And it's just so hard to get. You need someone in front of you to make a mistake if you want any hope of getting an extra position, but Cool Guy still representing the rest of the world, and he's closing on Will, the British driver in front. And once that P4 is going to be hungry for that P4. 2 in front, broken free of the rest of the pack, 2.5 seconds clear of Stein, who has settled for P3, and I think that is going to be the best he can hope for, bar an incident between the front two, who are now only separated by around about 4/10 or so. So Harry Rogers needs to maximise this exit coming towards turn 13, or 12 and 13. I think this is Holmes's section of the track. You can see he just absolutely nails it, doesn't he? And that is another spin. I believe that's Exotic coming off of turn 11 has gone round, and Dominique back into the top 10. 2.4 seconds now back off Atom Kev for P9, and the good thing is everyone is still bunched up, so if Dominique can make up one position, he's not going to be that far off an extra position. But Hay Rogers, yeah, still not able to particularly close the gap. Atom Kev on the back of Lass, and he is extremely close. He's going to have DRS. You can see Lass under pressure, pulls to the inside, weaves back round to break the toe, and I don't think Atom Kev is going to be particularly close, not close enough to make a move at all in towards turn 1. That's another spin on the main straight. That's Exotic going for a spin, and I don't think he's having the most pleasant of times in the Alpine. And no front wing damage, but definitely a damaged ego, I'm sure, as Atom Kev and Lass are going to run side by side through this very tight and twisty uphill section. Is that a bit of rain on the windshield? Yes, it is. That's Will also out of this session, has been caught out, and that is a safety car has been now brought out because of Will's crash coming towards turn 9. So Lass regains that position, manages to hold on because of the, I think, Atom adhering to the Delta, but Will's gone round and he's gone into the wall at turn 9, so we've got a safety car right as the wet weather hits. So do people stick it out for the inters? Do they come in now for the softs? That'll probably take them to the end of this race, I'm sure. But is it going to be... Let's see what Holmesy does. He knows what he's to do in these types of situations, but I don't think anyone particularly knows what to do. Stein's going to come into the pit lane. Is he confident that the inters aren't going to be particularly quick for a while? Coming into the pit lane. He's whacking on the inters. Is it too early? Are they going to overheat? But he's going to take this free pit stop anyway. It's going to be a massive risk for the Red Bull, but if it pays off, it could go a long way. It could pay dividends for him. A lot of people now into the pit lane. Atom Kev coming in. What tyres are they for? Kachow with a 5-second penalty. So Atom Kev bottoming on the soft compound tyre. Domily for the inters. Who else for the inters? That is Stuart Little on the inters as well. So we've got 3 drivers on the inters, and I think all eyes are going to be on them. Cali Rob with a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, which is going to need to serve under green flag running, I'm afraid. So can't quite get away with that under the safety car. But it is Holmesy that leads with Rogers and Cool Guy in P3 now after the pit stops. So can Stein get those tyres working? Is there enough standing water on the track for those tyres to work? I think that's going to be the deciding factor, how quickly this rain comes, or intensifies even, because yeah, slicks at the moment I'd say are going to be quicker. Of course, it's a greasy track. It's not going to be ideal for anyone, but with almost half the grid now on the inters, Kachow, Cali Rob, Exotic as well, deciding to go on to the intermediate tyres. I think it's all eyes going to be on them. With Atom Kev, the only one to make a pit stop to go back onto slicks. So if it stays like this, if it stays just drizzle, greasy track, the slicks are going to be quicker, and I think Atom Kev has a good shot of getting himself up the field with those soft tyres, because they are going to go to the end of the race, I'd say, pretty comfortably. And we won't have to make another stop, but if this rain intensifies, he will have to make another stop, and I would say Stein is probably the favourite to win if that's the case. But these changeable conditions, no one knows how quickly they're going to get worse, get better. As Holmesy has stopped on the track, and I think that's going to cause a little bit of confusion. So Rogers inherits the race lead. Holmesy down to second. Not quite sure what's happened there, but Rogers definitely not going to be complaining. With Kachow now pinning into the pit lane. Is that for back onto slicks? Maybe. No, it's for another fresh set of inters, but I think he's to serve a 5-second time penalty. Probably a wise decision indeed. I think Rogers has let off and let Holmesy back in front just to be a little bit more sportsmanlike, and the Aston Martin peels off and lets Holmesy regain the race lead under safety car. Lap 7 of 18 then around about a third of the way through, approaching halfway. We've got changeable conditions. We've got now everyone bar the top 6 onto inters. But when is usually it's going to be DRS that gets disabled, is usually the turning point for slicks to inters. Safety car in this lap, so we will find out what the pace is like. I would say slicks at this point in time are going to be a little bit quicker than the inters. I think the inters are going to be hard to get into a nice window, and there's not enough standing water on the track for them to properly come into fruition. But Holmesy backs off the pack. You can see weaving around like a snake, trying to back everyone up, making sure his tyres are in optimal condition. The top 6 yet to stop in this race. Everyone behind has stopped, but arguably for the wrong tyre. Atomkev back in for the inters. He's decided that the slicks aren't the way to go. Holmesy has punched it. We're back under green flag racing. The safety car is now in. That is Cool Guy all over the back of Hey Rogers now as they come towards turn 1. Cool Guy representing the rest of the world. He's going to dart to the inside for turn 1. Rogers gives him the room, but not quite enough to open the door for Cool Guy. Dominique getting himself up into P7. There's a crash at the backside of the grid. I believe that is Dace going round, but everyone's still trying to funnel their way through. Stuart Little on the back of Stein. Dominique up into P6, but how's the pace with these inters? Is Dominique catching Lace? Yellow flag still through sector 1. I believe that is Kachow and Dace that have come round, which is a shame. I'd say they're pretty much equal at this point in time, the slicks and the inters. I don't think Stein is really liking these changeable conditions at the moment. Going backwards as opposed to forward. Stuart Little and Atomkev practically breathing down his neck, with Cool Guy falling off a little bit from the front too. So Hey Rogers still again putting that pressure on Holmesy. No massive changes of position. Atomkev on the back of Stuart Little for P8. You can see how patient they're having to be with the sort of side-by-side go Cali Rob and Exotic. For P10 is Atomkev going to get past. That is the Williams going to get past the Alpine. Cali Rob up into the top 10 and chasing after the top 9 into turn 12. Tiny Dark Spike on the back of Cool Guy for that podium place. But Dominique, you can see, has really fallen off the top 5. He needs to hope that those inters hit a window very, very soon. That is a spin on the main straight. That is 2 spins on the main straight. That is Atomkev and Dominique both out. And another safety car has been brought out. That's another spin. Dace spinning. But I think he's going to get away with that one. Not put it into the wall. That's 3 drivers spinning at the same corner on the same lap. And he's come together with Atomkev's car. Might have picked up a little bit of damage. But another safety car now being brought out. Who's going to come into the pits on this time around? Is Stein maybe going to abort this and go for slicks, or are they going to commit on these intermediate tyres? We don't know. But a big crash then. Dominique, Atomkev and Will now the retirees. Dace has been lucky enough to carry on. But definitely a race that has been full of action all the way through. Stein has left the session as well. He's disconnected in the Red Bull. And Red Bull are going to take the decision for him, I think. So safety car back out just not even a lap after it had just come in. So is Holmesy going to peel his way into the pit lane? I'd say it's pretty rare. He is going to, at the very last minute, decide to come in. Is this for the intermediates, though? The top 3, top 4, 5 into the pit lane. So is Stein going to inherit the race lead here? As they all go on to intermediate tyres, they're going to lose a lot less time. Stein coming in. Stuart Little's going to stay out. Is Stuart Little going to take the race lead? It's going to be very close between himself and Holmesy. I think Holmesy's going to regain it. I think he's going to keep it unless Stuart Little can have a really good turn 1. But it's going to be P2 for the McLaren regardless. So he's jumped a lot of cars in that exchange. Rogers having to settle for P3. So Stuart Little being the best of the inters to make the most of that. I reckon Stein would have got into the lead of the race had he stayed out. His AI stayed out, of course. But it's going to be P8 now. P9 as last gets through. Now 10 of 18. To let Stein back through there. So Holmesy leads the way still as he come in for the inters. That free pit stop under safety car really going a long way and helping him. But yeah, definitely say inters are going to be one of the quicker tyres now. As you can see, the water starting to build up on the track. It's going to be a little bit more slippery out there now. Stuart Little, I think, being definitely the biggest gainer of these safety cars. He's come in for the first intermediate stop during the first safety car and has now jumped his way all the way upwards in P2, which is a great result for the McLaren driver. But Honesy tamed the wet conditions in qualifying. Rogers not far off from either. So those two definitely the two to look out for in terms of the winners of this race. I would say Stuart Little's got a good chance if he can get a good restart. Dace has retired under the safety car coming off of turn 10 into turn 11. He's carried on, so I think that's more of a willing DNF than a crash. So we're going to lose him. We're going to get one more lap of safety car, but we are now down to 10 runners in this race. A very mixed race, not much in the way of wheel-to-wheel racing, but certainly one that's been one of attrition and one of changeable conditions and strategy calls. As Stuart Little's going to run side by side with Honesy, but I'm not quite sure what the plan there was. You can see practically drifting around. Hopefully the safety car now going to come in at the end of this lap so we can get back on the way. But Honesy has controlled the previous restart very well, controlled the start very well, so he knows what he's doing. But Stuart Little needs to get the best of that, use that ERS off the line wisely, and just manage to build up the throttle a lot better. I think Honesy's not going to want to punch it during the banking because the traction's going to be a lot worse. That's the McLaren very wide and off the track there through turn 10. Not where you particularly want to be, especially in these wet conditions, but nonetheless, I would say the safety car is going to come in now, as we have just been alerted by race control. The safety car in this lap, so Honesy becomes the effective race leader. Apologies for the background noise. Hopefully it does stop before the restart. But nonetheless, Honesy, well, you can see Stuart Little wants to get going, so does Rogers behind and Cool Guy as well. They all want to get going, but Honesy really backing everyone up, not taking any chances. Taking it at his own pace. He controls the field until the safety car light goes off and they cross the timing line. Moving around, getting ready to punch it. He's got the full jurisdiction now to punch it, and we are now back under green flag racing. Honesy has got an absolutely incredible restart, and that is the Mercedes of Cool Guy going just side by side with Rogers. He's got a much better restart this time around. The Mercedes on the inside in the wet conditions. Can the Aston Martin get himself around the outside to hang on to that podium place? They are still going to be side by side, the Mercedes and Aston Martin coming towards turn 2 and 3, and I think the Aston Martin's just going to edge himself ahead and now put the pressure on the McLaren in front. But very nice job from Rogers there to keep that position, and he gets a massive squirm though. That's going to invite the Mercedes maybe to get back up the inside. That's going to invite Calirob from 10th place, and he's managed to get himself up to 5th. He almost had a look. The two Alpines looking a little bit spicy as well as they come through turn 8, but Honesy with a perfect restart, definitely the man, the reign master you could say at his home Grand Prix. 1.2 seconds, or only half a lap since the restart. Could not have asked for a better restart, could he? Honesy. Rogers trying to put the pressure on the McLaren in front, but they are very much in a conga line-esque train headed by Rogers. He's trying to close the gap to Stuart Little, but any mistake, any offline moment, that's Lassie trying to put the pressure on Stein, get himself up the inside into turn 12 and 13, gets the move done, but the Red Bull still sticking it on the outside. They're going to run side by side. The Red Bull pushing them all the way to the extremities of the track, but the Ferrari not giving in at all, gets the foot and gets the grip into the penultimate corner. Ahead goes the Red Bull, still side by side for P8, but I think Stein's just going to edge ahead. The Ferrari keeping him pinned. Kachal trying to find a way through, still side by side. That is Calirob into the pit lane, but the Red Bull of Stein just about edging himself ahead. The Ferrari going to come back at him though. The Red Bull defending, trying to deter him, but down the inside goes the Ferrari. The Haas trying to get involved as well. Kachal trying to get involved. Is the Ferrari in and ahead? No, he's not. Yes, he is, and has got himself up into P7 in this race. Great bit of racing between himself and Stein. The two Dutch drivers going side by side. I think they want to work together more so to catch the guys in front. The two Alpines again very close on circuit, representing I believe the USA. Coming towards turn 9, you can see how wet it has gotten now. Extremely wet, something I'm sure Toss definitely isn't used to. The tiny gas bike putting the pressure on Exotic in front. No DRS, of course, in these treacherous conditions. Cool Guy still putting the pressure on Rogers, who can't quite close the gap. That's a spin in the middle sector. Is that Kuchao? Yes, it is. The German driver has buried it in the grass and is going to lose that position to Calirob, down to last place for Kuchao. He's not had the best race today at all, but he's still got the reverse grid race in Bahrain yet to go. Stuart Little managing to close the gap between himself and Holmesy ever so slightly, as Hay Rogers going to run side by side with Cool Guy. Cool Guy managing to get himself ahead into the final corner. Rogers having to tuck into the slipstream and find a way through, but Cool Guy definitely the one with the pace at the moment into turn 1. You can see Rogers closing the gap, getting a nice drive off the first corner, but I think it's in their best interest maybe to just work together, these two guys. Cool Guy, of course, representing Team Rowe, Rogers, Team GB, so nothing in the way of teammates at all, but definitely it's going to benefit them if they work together. 2 tenths separating them at the moment. The two Alpines as well, very close on track. 3 tenths still separating these guys. Rogers is not going to give him. He wants this podium. He's going to try and maybe look up the inside, shoot a little bridge in that gap. With now around about 4.5 laps of this race remaining. 8 tenths separate the front two. But this is the fight for the podium. The Alpine's not far behind either. This could get very spicy if these two come together or battle a little bit too harshly. As I said, no DRS, so it's all down to pure grit and pure grunt of those engines down the straight, the slipstream, the ERS, and the pure engine power. The two Alpines lurking as well. They're going to go potentially side by side. Very good run from Tiny Darspike. Only 2 tenths back on his teammate. Very close, as is Hay Rogers. He's going to be nicely tucked up in the slipstream. Is he going to use his overtake? No, he's not. He's not quite going to be interested in going for it. But the Alpine is going to be interested in going for it. He's closing at a rate of knots. Looks to the inside. Is he going to send it up the inside? Tiny Darspike very brave on the brakes. Licks it and sends it from almost a different postcode, you could say, on the inside of Exotic, who manages to use that momentum around the outside and keep that position. But definitely a good effort from the P6 man of Tiny Darspike, and Lassie has been able to be brought right back into this fight. So it's an 8-car train really. Oh well, I'd say more a 6-car train, maybe a 5-car train if you discount the top two, who are around about 2.5 seconds clear of the field behind. So Holmesy with the fresher tyres should be quicker. Stuart Little, though, he's had the experience on those intermediate tyres and is slowly starting to bridge the gap between the two. Rogers maintaining that gap between himself and the Mercedes in front. Any mistakes between these two could be costly because there's a big train behind them, and they're all going to want to try and capitalise off any mistakes the front make. And this is the fight for the podium, and a podium for your nation would be something pretty special in the main feature race. And a couple of laps left to go. Nicely in the slipstream. Is he going to push the button and go for it? He is indeed going to go for it. He's closing at a rate of knots on that Mercedes. Is it going to be enough towards turn 1? Pulls out to the right hand side. I don't think he's quite going to be brave enough as Tiny Darspike under the brakes, who doesn't go for it this time, in fact. But Hay Rogers not quite close enough to go for the move this time. I think he's going to wait, bide his time a little bit better. Try and go for the move a little bit later on, maybe when Cool Guy doesn't have the opportunity to come back at him. Hay Rogers can't be waiting around, can't be taking any risks, because Cool Guy definitely has the pace. They're pretty equal on pace is the Mercedes and Aston Martin. Cool Guy doing well though. Clips the curb though. That is always going to be dangerous, and that is a spin for the Mercedes. Rogers cleanly up into P3, and I think that's a mistake that he was waiting for. I think Cool Guy's managed to carry on with minimal damage to the front wing. Exotic into P4, Tiny Darspike into P5, but not for very long because Exotic goes sideways off the exit of turn 10, and Tiny Darspike very cleanly up, but his teammate's going to get the switcheroo on him off of turn 11, gets the drive, but I don't think he's quite going to be able to edge himself ahead unless Exotic comes back at him into the chicane. Looks practically pushing him through, but doesn't quite go for the move into P4. So Tiny Darspike up into 4th place. Definitely has the pace maybe to chase after the podium, but Cool Guy definitely didn't keep his cool there. Clipped the curb, and you could see that from a mile off that was always going to happen to him. There's such little time left to go. He was looking good for a podium, but I think Rogers was waiting for that mistake. Didn't want to put the pressure on too early. Or well, did put the pressure on all the way through, but didn't want to actually launch an attack, knowing that maybe Cool Guy would make a mistake. And that's usually what you have to rely on in these wet conditions, is a mistake instead, because if you go offline you're going to lose grip and all that. So yeah, Rogers keeping himself composed and gets himself up into P3. Tiny Darspike not quite able to bridge the gap between himself and the podium. with Holmesy and Stuart Little, relatively speaking, maintaining that gap that they've had. Not much change between them. But Stein on the back of the Ferrari, he's managed to pick up a little bit more swing and a little bit more pace. Get that rhythm back going, and he's got a chance for P5. That is Kachow going around on the back straight again. Kachow not having the best race. But we'll start towards the front for the reverse grid race as we come on to nearly the final lap of this race. I think Kachow maybe might just be waiting to be lapped so he can not complete that final lap, which fair enough to him. I think a lot of people would do the same in his position. Very close between 7th and 6th and even 5th. Only half a tenth separating them, so Stein definitely within a shout of P5 at his home race. Holmesy looking good for his home race though. One more lap, 15 more corners, and he'll take the first Nations Cup victory of F1 2021. And what a way to do it at your home circuit. Holmesy definitely probably one of the most deserved winners. Pole, kept it composed, played the strategy pretty well, and has been doing extremely well all race long. Hasn't put a foot wrong at all. And his conditions very much just suiting his driving style. He's definitely the rainmaster of this field. With Stein closing at a rate of knots, not quite going to go for it into turn 8. That's not somewhere you conventionally go for a move. But now coming towards turn 9 and into 10, is he going to look up the inside? Not quite going to be close enough to go for the move, but all over the back of Lassen. He's got a lot of ERS to use at his disposal. He's going to want to use it down this back straight towards turn 12 and 13. Needs a good run. That's not going to be the best run. He's not quite close enough, I would say, but he's using that ERS anyway to try and bridge the gap between the two. Any mistake between now and the line could be costly. I think Stein can probably best hope for P6 maybe if he's lucky, but the two leaders now cross the line. It's going to be Holmesy from pole to flag, comes across the line to take the win at his home Grand Prix ahead of Stuart Little for the Brits, and it makes it a double British podium as Rogers comes across the line in P3 with Tiny Darksbike P4, Exotic P5, Lasse P6, Stein P7, and Calliope a few moments later as he comes weaving across the line, smacks into the wall but manages to carry on going, comes across the line and finishes at P8. Cool guy. A few seconds later, man that definitely had the potential for a podium, threw it away at the very last second. Kachow again, a man who could have done better in this race, but certainly didn't. Will come home P10. At least he finished. Finish first you must finish. At least he finished. That's more than the four others can definitely say. But Holmesy, a great result and a double British podium as well, so not at all a bad result for the Brits in the Nations Cup. But Holmesy, he's got to be pleased with himself. He's got to be proud with that one. He's got it all to play for now. He's got it all to prove. Got it all to prove in Bahrain. He's going to start last. He needs to cut his way through the field, but he knows how to do that. Holmesy knows how to overtake. Exotic driver of the day. A very deserved drive up to where he was at the end. And now just bear with us for a moment while we sort out the reverse grid race, but a very deserved podium, it must be said. Team GB doing very well. The Dutchies winning their home race. That's definitely a good statement, but it is Holmesy then that takes the win of the Dutch Grand Prix. Stuart Little P2 with Hay Rogers rounding it off for a double British podium. Tiny Darksbike and Exotic make it an American 4-5 with Lasse and Stein, the two Dutch in P6 and 7. Calliope P8 with Cool Guy and Kachow rounding off the top 10, with Dace, Domely, Amkev and Will rounding off the grid with the DNFs. They will start at the front for the reverse grid race in Bahrain. Well done, Henry. Definitely did a great drive. Potentially not quite where he'd want to be, but that safety car caught him out a little bit. Maybe Stuart Little getting the better of him, coming in that a couple of laps before on the safety car, taking that risk. It could have worked either way, and in this particular occasion it didn't quite work for him. But P3, not at all a bad result for him, and is going to be one position ahead, ready for the reverse grid race. And well, Rogers, we've seen him very, very quick in Bahrain before, so do not count him out at all. He could be up there with Holmesy. So back into the lobby now, the reverse grid race. In just a few moments time, do not go anywhere, it's going to be just as exciting, if not more, than the Dutch Grand Prix we just saw there. Maybe not so with the changeable conditions as it is the Middle East, should be pretty much dry all the way through. But still a great race nonetheless, I'm sure. Certainly cannot wait to get underway for Bahrain. Should be definitely more abundant of overtakes than Zandvoort. And with the reverse grid nature, you've got the faster guys, you've got Honesy trying to cut his way through the field, so it will definitely be good. It will definitely be interesting to see. I'm sure there's going to be action up and down the field. Shouldn't be too long now. I think that's the reverse grid set. Now just waiting for the change of track, and we should get underway for what I believe is 14 laps of Bahrain, a little bit shorter than Zandvoort. Should equate to around about the same amount of time. There we go. Should be getting underway and racing very shortly for our second of 2 races. Hopefully more exciting than the first. We are then getting ourselves underway. Waiting for everyone to ready up, but the countdown is ready and coming down. So 14 laps of Bahrain ahead of us. Reverse grid, and still all to play for amongst the nations. No qualifying, just a reversed grid race. So Honesy will start last, and I'm not sure if those who DNF still start first or if they start at the back, but if that is the case, it's either going to be Exotic. Who was it that retired first? It was Will that retired first, wasn't it? So he'll start pole, unless it's the DNFs that don't count, and then in which case it will be Kachow that starts pole. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll just have to see when they're ready up. Hopefully everyone remembers their setups going into the race. That's a very easy thing to do. 3 minutes on the grid. We're just going to chill out for a little bit. So go get your cups of tea, go get your popcorn, go get your Freddos, anything you need ahead of the race. I've got, well, I did have a glass of water, and I've got some digestive biscuits that I might munch on a little bit later, but not particularly now. I'm out of water, so I don't want to be munching on some dry biscuits. That would be the worst thing to do. Yeah, going to be sat here for a few minutes, so definitely go get yourself ready. And free tyre choice for everyone. So, well, what's everyone's favourite biscuit then? Let's see. So we've got the digestives, we've got chocolate digestives. They're pretty good. But I'd say for dipping into tea, you can't beat Oreos, can you? Like, Oreos are pretty good. I can't lie. For milk as well, dipping into milk, Oreos are pretty good. You've also got rich tea. Rich tea are alright for dipping into tea. Not the best on their own though, but for tea, definitely good. You've got hobnobs. Hobnobs are pretty nice, can't lie. Hobnobs as well. What other biscuits are there? Jammy Dodgers. Can you count Jammy Dodgers as a biscuit? I guess you could. Dark chocolate digestives. Nah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Dark chocolate not really been the best. White chocolate definitely one of the best ones, I'd say. But we are counting down now, so let's get our serious faces on, ladies and gentlemen. Quit the talk about biscuits. We can carry that on for another day. Special episode of the CCR network. Jaffa cake. Jaffa Cakes biscuits though. That's the I mean that's in the name though. They're cakes. Like Jaffa Cakes, not Jaffa biscuits. We had this debate once in school, I remember. It was, yeah, we were talking on our science technicians about whether the fact they're Jaffa Cakes or biscuits or not. But they're definitely cakes, I would say, because biscuits go soft when they go off, and cakes go hard, and Jaffa Cakes go hard when they go off. Oh wait, no, they go soft. They go like stale. I don't even know what it is. Nonetheless, it is Kachow that is going to take pole position ahead of Cool Guy on P2, Cannibal P3, Stein P4, with last in P5, Exotic P6 with Tiny Dark Spike in P7, Rogers, Stuart Little and Honesy round off the top 10 with our retirees of Dace, Domily, Atomkev and Will rounding off the grid. So I was right in saying that the DNFs will start at the back of the grid. and not take the reverse grid advantage. 14 laps ahead of us. Let's see what tyres everyone have gone for. I'm going to guess the softs. In fact, no, it's not. The majority of the grid, as is the case with Zandvoort, go in for those medium tyres. 3 drivers, though, are the exception. They're gone for the softs. They're going to go for quick first in, try and dart their way through the field, and then go for the mediums later on when they're a little bit spaced out. But I would say the medium's definitely the better choice. Everyone's in the same traffic, so you're going to be slow no matter what. But cool guy, looking to get a good start, I'd say, and use those soft tyres to his best advantage. But I think the medium guys can stay with the softs. They could be pretty good towards the end of the race. And being on the softs with a lighter car, going to be a little bit easier on the tyre wear. You can push them for that a little bit longer. So, yeah, definitely an interesting tactic. But an early safety car could throw all into turmoil because those on the mediums can't exactly go to the softs. They can't go to the mediums, and hards are just going to be extremely slow. So, any early safety car is going to be pretty awkward, but those softs are going to be straight onto the mediums if there's an early safety car. Cool guy, you can see, not faffing about at all, wants to get himself to the grid. It's going to be Kachal that leads us off. A shortest run towards turn 1, but a very tight, heavy braking zone for turn 1. So let's see if we can have any overtakes towards the first couple of corners, all the way up the hill towards turn 4. It's going to be pretty exciting, I'm sure, and all throughout this race. Bahrain is a breeding ground for close racing. We've got a Haas on pole. He's joined by the Mercedes, the German alongside the row. Then the US and the Dutch that round off the top 4. Completely different nationality for each of the top 4 spots. We are now here revving up the cars as we go to 5 red lights for the reverse grid race for the CCR Nations Cup. We're underway in racing. It's a great start for the man in P2 as Kachal gets off very poorly. The Mercedes already alongside and ahead towards turn 1. The Red Bull of Stein already trying to get himself up into P3. Down the inside of Cali Rob. They're going to run side by side. I think the Williams is going to get ahead, but the Red Bull going to fight him all the way. That's Lassie off, and that is a spin for Kachal. He's had another very appalling start as Honesy's had an incredible, an incredibly poor start. They're going to run nearly 4 abreast up the front, nearly 5 abreast coming towards turn 4. Domily on the inside, going to back out of that one. Shuley on the inside. This is a breeding ground for disaster. Rogers getting himself into P4 in the Aston Martin up ahead. There's a lot of contact. That's Atom Kev trying to get himself up, making contact with the rear diffuser of Domily coming towards the S's as they trundle their way through in towards turn 8. Breakers, you're pretty much straight. Cool guy with an optimal start though. Shuley already up into P6, not faffing about at all with Domily now running side by side with the Alpine of Tiny Dust Bikes into the outside for turn 9 and 10. Can he break late enough? The Alpine was always going to do that. That's Stuart Little being sent round. He's tapped round that sideways, but he manages to recover well and still get a good launch as they come towards turn 11. It's all kicking off in the midfield. That's what you get when you have the quicker guys coming through. Tiny Dust Bike alongside Lassie and ahead of Lassie towards turn 11, but Rogers with an optimal start, the best of the bunch. And the Brit trying to get himself onto the podium. Cool guy leads the way. Cali Rob, Stein and Rogers, your top 4. Yellow flags through the middle sector. I think that's Dace going for a bit of a spin with Tiny Dust Bike as well. Rogers looking to get through very close to the back of Exotic. A VSC has been brought out because of the debris on the circuit. So all drivers a moment to breathe, I'd say, after a very chaotic first lap. But a VSC out nonetheless. A driver into the pit lane. Stuart Little into the pit lane off lap 1, and a driver on the softs is going to come in, I'm going to guess, for the medium time to the end of the race. Going to make the most of this slowed down. Of course, every driver going to be slow. You call it a virtual free pit stop, not so as much of a gain that you would get under a full course yellow, and of course a front wing change, so that's going to help him along. He comes out ahead of the Haas, Ferrari and Alpine, who also have to recover damage. Lassie going for the hards, everyone else going for the mediums apart from Atom Kev, who's also on those white wall hard tyres, but hopefully we can get back on the green flag racing very quickly. That's the thing with VSCs, you can never tell when it's going to go green again. We'll see. Honesy up to P3, or at least it says he's up to P3. I think he's in last place, but we go green once again. Atom Kev with a drive-through penalty for speeding under VSC. Hey, Rogers still on the back of Stein for that net P3. Taps the rear diffuser of the Red Bull. No damage done, I don't think. Maybe to his ego a little bit, but tucked up nice in the slipstream. He's got Exotic right behind. It's going to be a 3-car train for the podium place, or the net podium place. But Rogers all over the back of Stein. Won't get DRS for another half a lap or so. In fact, another 3 corners, and then he will get the DRS up towards turn 4. Still putting the pressure on Stein, ready to attack at any moment. Rogers, the man with the pace. We said he's going to be quick at Bahrain, and he's definitely supplying with the pace, and I think his fans in the chat are going to be cheering him on all the way. Exotic as well could be someone to watch out for. DRS enabled now as we come on to lap 3. Stein kicking up sparks trying to defend this position, but Rogers is closing at a rate of knots. He's going to pull to the inside. Stein tries to defend, but the Aston Martin's going to go even deeper. The Alpine looking for a way through. They touch wheels as they come towards turn 1. The Red Bull pulls to the left-hand side to swoop around the outside to take the wider line. They're still going to be side by side. The Aston Martin around the outside keeps the position and is ahead. They still make contact, wheel bumping all the way down this straight. Stein trying to pull to the left-hand side. The Alpine can't quite find a way through. Stein trying to find a way through. He's going to compromise his line. Exotic looking up the inside, but not quite going to get the run. So Rogers up into P3 and is looking to set his sights on Cali Rob and Cool Guy ahead, who's had just a blitzing start. Just got his head down and has gone on those soft compound tyres, which should be expected, but he's still doing a great job. With Stein under pressure now from Exotic behind, not had the best start to this race. Lap 3 of 14, there's still a long way to go for sure. Domily on the back of Kachow. But don't forget that strategy is going to play a massive factor in this race. Mosley Pitt under VSC could be looking pretty good. Cool Guy as well on a different strategy than most other people on circuit. The safety car could be ever so important in splicing this thing back up, batching everyone back up together. Hopefully no one crashes. Still no retirements. Honesy down in P14, the last race winner in the Netherlands. Now finds himself P14 and last. But Cool Guy setting the pace, 28.2 with the fastest lap. And is comfortably ahead. Exotic with the DRS, that drag reduction system should be helping propel him down this back straight. He's going to use the overtake button as well. Close at a rate of knots. Stein defends. The Alpine keeps it to the left-hand side and is going to be ahead before the braking zone. The Red Bull trying to stick his nose in, but the Alpine just has the wide line, has the momentum, swoops around the outside, but the Red Bull comes back at him and through turn 2 and 3 stays ahead. But the Alpine's going to try and come back at him, even though Stein's got the DRS. And is going to stay ahead for the time being. Domily and Kachow maybe going to run side by side. Domily closing at a rate of knots, using all of his DRS down the inside into turn 4, but Kachow brakes late enough to stay ahead and claim the racing line through turn 4. Domily going to have to settle for 7th, but not a bad recovery so far for Kachow, considering he was backwards at the start of lap 1. Honesy setting the fastest lap up into P13 as Attenkev is into the pit lane in the Haas for another set of hard compound tyre. Or to serve his drive-through, in fact, wasn't it actually? Attenkev coming in to serve his drive-through, and that is him done and dusted. I would say very much out of contention for this race, unless there is a safety car that is brought out later on. Lap 4 of 14, about a third of the way through, roughly. Cool Guy, 6.5 second lead over Cali Rob. So it is Rowe that leads the way, followed by the Americans and the Brits that round off the podium with the Dutch and the US. 4th and 5th. Exotic needs to maximise the exit. Running wide is not going to help him at all. He's using all of his ERS. Domily with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I don't think Exotic's quite going to be close enough, especially with his lack of ERS. Stein with the same problem. Defends very late on. Rogers on the back of Cali Rob now as well, very close to the back of P2. So it's all going to be kicking off between 4th and 5th and 2nd and 3rd. As they hurdle their way up the hill towards turn 4. Is Exotic going to go for the move? Not quite close enough. Yellow flag through sector 1. That's Kachow off and round. Is that going to be a full course yellow? Potentially. He's done a Mazepin in the Haas. That is a shame for our reigning NRL champion. But I don't think it's going to be a full course yellow, and he managed to pull away. So I think more of a hurt ego than anything. Dace on the back of Will. Quite a lot happening at this stage in the race. Quite a few close battles. Kachow out of this race. Last also out of this race, coming off of turn 2. In fact, into turn 2. Let's see if we can grab an angle of what happened. Sorry if we're missing anything at the front. I'm quite curious as to what happened to Last. His car has disappeared. That wall there. How has he gone over there? Very strange indeed. But it's happened nonetheless. And that is 2 retirements in 1 lap. No full course yellow though. So we're down to 12 runners and a full green flag running. Hey, Rogers on the back of Cali Rob looking to make a move. He's got all the ERS in the world. So does Cali Rob. They're on equal tyres, but I think Rogers is the man with the pace at the moment. Probably one of the favourites to win. But 8 seconds is going to be a monumental task to close unless there's a safety car. DRS open. He doesn't even need overtake. He's going to pull to the right-hand side very comfortably. Tucked up nicely. Is Exotic going to go for a similar move? He's not got the ERS to defend, to attack with. And close the gap to Stein, so he's not quite going to be close enough unless there's an audacious dive towards turn 1. Maybe looking around the outside as Stein defends, taps his rear diffuser. Hey, Rogers up into P2. And Exotic now, I think, putting the pressure on, using every tiny little bit of overtake he's got left. Stein having to defend and out of DRS as well. You can see the blinking red light as Exotic down the inside. Stein keeps him pinned, pulls out to the last second to take the race line and swoop around the outside. So Stein fighting neck and toe for this P4 with Dace on the back of Will for P7. And Dace find a way through, looking to get past the Brit, who didn't have the best race in the Netherlands. P7 at the moment, good chunk of points as the McLaren and Alpine are running side by side. I think Tiny Darksbike just going to edge himself in front of Stuart Little for the time being. Stuart Little again, Brit with a bit of pace, but maybe a little bit unlucky in this race so far. Days closing on Will as well in the Williams. Wants to get through on the McLaren, looking to the inside of turn 11, not quite going to be able to brake late enough to put Will off his line, but he's got a good run. It's going to be the outside for turn 13, not quite close enough though. Exotic on the back of Stein, not got a lot of ERS though. This is a fight that's been breeding for the last couple of laps or so. We have now reached halfway in this race, as I think Stein pulling into the pit lane for his stop and going to the soft compound tyres. He's going to be very quick, should be able to pull a bit of a gap on Exotic. This is now crunch time for him. He needs to get a good run, needs to get a good outlap. Stuart Little on the back of Tiny Darksbike. Will has lost that position to Dace. In fact, no, he hasn't, because he's sailed back past with DRS. Dace going to give him a run for his money, though, fight him all the way. Will forcing him to the extremities of the track. Dace going to come back at him, though, with the DRS back up the hill towards turn 4. Doesn't even need the DRS. I don't think either of them got it. Will defending all the way to the white line, bring it back over to the left hand side. Last second, the Williams still on the outside, picks himself up a 3-second penalty. They're going to be side by side towards the S's, neither of them wanting to concede, but Dace gets himself in front as Will finally backs out, looking back up the inside though, going to send it as soon as they're straight back up under brakes. The Williams still going to leave him to drive around the outside, keep that position. The McLaren going to be a little bit squirmy towards turn 9 and 10. I think the McLaren going to have to concede this position. He's got a little bit more ERS to use. It goes very sideways. What a drift from the McLaren. That was well held. Credit's where credit is due. And he's managed to carry on, and he's still in DRS range. But Stein and Domi both in on the softs on the same lap. Stein needs to make the most of this outlap so he can bridge the gap towards Cali Roberts. Cool Guy is also into the pit lane for his medium compound tyre. Hay Rogers going to follow him in. Cali Rob as well. Is Exotic going to come in this lap as well? Surely he has to cover him off. Indeed he is. So the top 4 all into the pit lane. Cool Guy on to mediums. Hay Rogers going to go for the soft tyres. Let's hope he doesn't get held up. He doesn't. Beautiful stop from the Aston Martin guys there. But Cool Guy pulling out, so it's going to be a straight time attack race between Rogers and Cool Guy. Around about 6 seconds is going to be the gap. 7 seconds in fact is the gap. He's around about a second a lap on those soft compound tyres. Rogers, the man with the pace, can he do it? If there's anyone that can do it, it's him. So it's going to be a straight race between those two to the end. Dace coming out of the pit lane now. Where is Stein relative to everyone else? There's Stuart Little and Tiny Darksbike. He's going to try and go for the cutback. He's got the better tyres than these two. Does not want to get held up, but he's lost a monumental amount of time to those in front of him, Exotic included, who comes out comfortably ahead. Stein looking to the inside of at least one of them, maybe even two of them down the inside. What a send from the Red Bull, but the McLaren going to keep that position and etch himself ahead. Good effort though from the Red Bull, who does not want to be waiting around behind these arguably slower guys with him on the fresh soft compound tyres. He needs to utilise that grip quickly. Yellow flags to sector 1. That's Adam Kev gone off. Another Haas off on the exit of turn 3 up the hill towards 4. But he's managed to carry on going very similar fashion to his teammate, except this time he's still in control of his car and hasn't retired. Stein closing the gap to Stuart Little, pulls to the right hand side for turn 11, swoops around the outside, surely very comfortably does so with that superior grip, and does up into P5 goes the Red Bull with 6 laps left of this race remaining. As Hay Rogers already putting in an absolute massive dent into Cool Guy's leader. Safety car has been brought out though with Adam Kevs retiring. This is going to spice things up very, very much with Stuart Little and Tiny Darksbike both going to be benefiting quite a bit from this. A free pit stop could be going their way. Holmesy as well going to be brought right back up into the chase, and Hay Rogers is going to be all over the back of Cool Guy. And that has closed the gap for him. Cool Guy has looked very cool and composed at the front. Rogers, the man with the pace, has been chasing him down, but well, one of these two is going to be coming out on top. The safety car letting them through. Holmesy a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. As he comes in, he's going to put on some fresh soft compound tyres. Pretty much everyone on the grid now onto the softs, except for Cool Guy, who might want to come in very, very soon. Will, he's going to try his best. McLaren's 8 and 9, the two Brits. Yeah, Will looking for redemption after a pretty poor showing in Zandvoort, retired after a couple of laps, but this safety car is a new opportunity, a fresh start for him, with only a few laps left to go. Is Cool Guy going to come into the pit lane though? That's the question. Is he willing to sacrifice the pace, or the positions I should say rather, for the better tyres? I mean, he's going to go backwards in this race. He surely cannot defend all the way to the end. So is it better to take the punch now and come back through the field, or stick it out on the mediums and risk losing those, maybe even all the way down to P11 if those people are quick enough? Let's see what he does. Is he going to come into the pit lane? Nope. Hey Rogers, a drive-through penalty for speeding under safety car. If this couldn't get more dramatic, it just has. Hey Rogers, the man in P2, the man favourite arguably to win, has now been given a drive-through penalty in his race, possibly ruined. Because he has to serve it under green flag running and won't be able to serve that under the safety car. So Rogers well and truly out of contention in this race, which is certainly a shame. So safety car probably, hopefully, only out for one more lap or so. Hopefully Holmesy and Co can close up without obviously burning too much through their tyres. So, Cool Guy, a lot of pressure is alleviated off his shoulders now. One of the main protagonists is, well, very much out of the running for this race win, and hopefully won't be posing a problem. Hopefully safety car in at the end of next lap. It's Holmesy we're waiting for. Who'd have thought we'd have been waiting for a multiple time champion. Yeah, speed up, honestly. Holmesy, who's coming into the pit lane to serve a 5-second stop go. So he better get himself around quickly, otherwise the safety car might not wait around for him with only a few laps left to go. So it needs to get those soft tyres on. And that as the that is a very awkward pickup. So Holmesy, yeah, I think he's just going to be able to do it, and he's served his penalty, of course, his 5 second for speeding in the pit lane. As Cool Guy has spun under the safety car, has dropped from the lead, and isn't going to recover from that because he's not allowed to, and has been given a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Exotic. So it's gone from bad to worse for Cool Guy. He's spun from the lead of the race and has made contact and picked himself up a penalty. So, well, the end of this race, very much dramatic. Rogers with the drive-through, the two main protagonists for the race win. Now, well, very much out of contention. And safety car in this lap as well. All he had to do was bring it home for a couple more corners. Rogers will lead the pack off, but Cali Rob will eventually inherit the race lead. Exotic is going to make it an American 1-2. Stein and P5 want to recover for some lost ground as well. Holmesy wants to try and cut his way through the field. Rogers with a drive-through controls the pack as we go for the final couple of laps of this race. We go on to lap 12 of 14. 3 laps left of this race remaining, and we are back under green flag racing. It's a great restart from Rogers, who leads us off, already gapping Cali Rob, but I don't think Cali Rob's too interested in Rogers because he knows he's going to inherit the race lead. He's more interested in looking in the mirrors and where Exotic is, because Exotic is closing at a rate of knots, not quite enough to maybe launch an attack. Will going side by side with Dace towards turn 1. The McLaren on the outside, the left-hand side of the Williams, who breaks late, gets the position, but the McLaren going to swoop around the outside, the inside for turn 2, switches back on him very quickly. Exotic going for the move side by side with Cali Rob is going to be the outside for turn 4, but we've seen move done there before around the outside. The Williams still going to push him all the way to the outside, but just about going to hang on to that P2 and the net race lead, of course, when Hey Rogers comes in for his drive-through. Dominique on the back of Stein, looking to put the pressure on, is going to look for the inside. Stein covers it off though, moves nicely under braking, very cleverly moves under braking as to not be illegal nor dangerous, but just enough to cover it off. And Dominique coming through turn 11, or turn 10 I should say rather, in the DRS, looking to recover for some lost ground for the Brits, and he's closing, but not quite enough in towards turn 11 I would say. Still definitely looking to go for it, maybe towards turn 1. DRS will be enabled for the final lap of this race. But how big of an effect that is going to be, I'm not entirely sure. Rogers should come in for his stop or his drive-through at the end of this lap. He's trying to pull out as much of a gap as he can to minimise the damage. But I don't think that's quite going to be enough as we come on to lap 13, the penultimate lap of this race. I think Rogers is going to try and stick it out all the way. Fastest lap, 20.69 of the race. Exotic all over the back of Cali Rob though, pulls to the inside, soars past the Williams with the overspeed, and surely the Williams has not got much to say about that. Holmesy even quicker, 26.7. Exotic into the net race lead. Cali Rob looking to put the pressure on Cool Guy with his 5-second penalty still there on those medium tyres. Stein going to try and put the pressure on. Domily behind as well, going to try and put the pressure on the Red Bull, the Aston Martin, and Red Bull. The Red Bull down the inside of the Mercedes gets the move done. There's contact though, and Stein's been sent round by Cool Guy, and that has big contact, big consequences for Stein, who now cannot recover any positions at all. Contact between Domily and Cool Guy as well. The Briton trying to force his way through on the Rao driver. Gets him around the outside, leaves him to dry, very much so. Domily with some pace and the fresher, softer tyres gets himself in to P4. Will be a podium after Rogers either his penalty or his drive-through. That's like on the back of Stuart Little as well, not quite close enough as we approach the final lap of this race. Very drama-filled race, it must be said. Cool Guy's still there, but with 5 seconds. Domily still there, but with 3 seconds. The two in front of them, the two net race leaders, are completely clean. Cali Rob's still there. Has not let Exotic get away from him. Is Rogers into the pit lane? No, he's going to go for it on the final lap. As we now approach the final lap, DRS is enabled. Exotic already going to the white line to defend. Cali Rob follows him. They all follow in a nice snake-like line to get the slipstream. The Williams looking up the inside, not quite going to send it. He's going to wait for the DRS. Cali Rob very much in control when it comes to the energy. The final lap now, the final 14 or so corners left to go. He's in DRS, he's using his overtake, but not quite close enough, so Exotic might just be able to hang on to this. One more DRS zone left to go, and one more major straight down towards the penultimate corner. Domily all over the back of Cali Rob as well, putting the pressure on. That's not going to be good news for Cali Rob if he loses the position. Down the inside goes Domily. He's definitely within a chance of winning this race. Pulls him all the way to the outside, and he needs to get a move on now. He's got to use every tiny little bit of ERS he can to bridge the gap to Exotic in front. But don't forget, he's got a 3-second time penalty, but a win on track would definitely be good for Team GB. He's closing at a rate of knots. He's definitely got the move done. Pulls to the left-hand side, coming towards turn 11. Very much out of ERS, but the DRS and the pure grunt of that Mercedes engine pulls him into the race lead. It's an Aston Martin, it's a British 1-2, both of which have penalties, but it doesn't matter because the on-track pride, I'm sure, is going to be enough for them to be satisfied. Cali Rob diving down the inside of turn 14, gets the move done, forces the Alpine all the way out, and Cool Guy now putting the pressure on. This is a very chaotic end to what has been a chaotic Bahrain Grand Prix. The Alpine defends, Cool Guy looking, doesn't really know where to go coming into the penultimate corner of turn 15 and 16. Really isn't a corner. Hey Rogers now given a 20-second time penalty for an unserved drive-through, so Domily will take the win ahead of Cali Rob and Exotic. Stuart Little gets himself onto the podium, will into P4. Domily from the race lead down to P5, with Hey Rogers definitely well and truly down into last place. What a chaotic end. Pretty much everyone separated by nothing. A very deserved podium after an extremely chaotic Bahrain Grand Prix. Those you expected to win definitely didn't win. And it all really went very backwards for them in the end. But it is an American 1-2. Cali Rob takes the win ahead of Exotic in P2, with Stuart Little rounding it off the podium for McLaren Will in P4 as well, making amends for Zandvoort. Domily from a chance of the lead with the 3-second penalty, saw himself down into P5. Cool Guy P6, Holmesy P7 with Dace P8, and Tiny Darspike in P9. Stein rounding off the top 10 with Rogers the lead of the race. That unserved drive-free cost him though. P11 at the end. Atomkev, Kuchau and Lass are DNFs for the second of 2 races here for the CCR Nations Cup. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a roller coaster of events. Very, very chaotic races. Could not have asked for much better really to kick off the Nations Cup, could we? It's been incredible, and I certainly cannot wait for the races to come, and I will certainly see you in 3 weeks time. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I've been Zach Sweeney, this has been CCR and the Nations Cup, and I'll definitely catch you next time. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.